I thought Mike McMeekin and Greg Minikin had a good game. Both of them.
Mike McMinikin had a good game. Yeah.
Mike McMinikin and Greg Meekin, yeah.
No bans for Gale. Do you know what? I think the immediate reaction from all the Hull fans was that the referee had a stinker against them in this one. And I think that's always kind of the go-to on a close defeat, where you feel like that. I don't necessarily think he was better for any side than the other.
He did make a couple of mistakes, didn't he?
I think there was a mistake that went in Hull's favour when he ruled a penalty for interference when the player was coming away from the play and Liam Watts clean dropped it. But Liam Watts had been involved in a similar incident just before. Mark Snade, actually, didn't he get a warning?
Yeah, Mark
he got a warning for his mouth and from the disciplinary. I think he should have, maybe that might be another player Tara talking about, because he gave a bit of mouth on one of the instances.
He did, but I think in that one, I'm not saying he justified a bit of mouth, but I think he was in the right in terms of the decision. Because
it got overturned.
He just said, well, you knocked it forward. He went, well, who knocks it forward? Which one of us? Because I don't think any Hull player had it. I think it had been spilled and it came flying out. You couldn't see a Hull player stripping the ball out when he was for it on the line.
Was it not from the knock on? Oh, was that a different one? Then there was the knock on. Then there was the knock on that wasn't a knock. Then was the kick that was a knock on as well. That the Hull players all surrounded him. Don't like seeing that sort of thing.
Bollocks.
We got the right call in the end.
Yeah.
But I still think I don't like it that's how we got to it.
No.
But yeah, there was the Watts thing, and then he went down the other end of the field and gave a knock on against Watts when it probably was a penalty for Hardacre, I think, trying to shortcut off getting round to marker. And I think it was two wrongs don't make a right, but just because your team lost, you'll only focus on the wrongs against you and not realise that you probably never would have been up that end of the field because of Cass's great defensive line speed and intensity of defence that controlled your attacking march for much of this game. And that's why Hull FC lost this game. That and their own absolute fuck-ups in the first half.
They did make some fuck-ups, but then to the same token, I thought in the early stages of the game, defensively they were on it. Cass weren't making much distance out of their own half, really, in the first 5 or 6 sets of the game, and I thought Hull were up for this.
Both teams contained the other, definitely. I agree with that, yeah.
So, what do you think then? Fair result, Castleford, or?
I think so, because I think the outstanding Hull scored some cracking tries, right? But they didn't play consistently for long enough in this game, and I think that's. I think that is borne out by some of the things people have said and what we all saw. I mean, that flick by Connor for Fanua's first try was absolutely outstanding. Both the Fanua, the first Talanoa try there was some great stuff in the build-up to that one. I just think they let themselves down. I mean, they gave away kickable penalties that were penalties. Yeah. And that's, in the end, what turned the scoreboard the other way around, let's not forget.
Yeah.
And I actually think Castleford's defence was good enough to deserve to win this game. I think maybe they're not that used to playing in too many close games that they win.
Yeah.
To be honest, they've never lost a game by more than 4 points or 5 points or something this season. But when they win, they normally win by bigger margins.
Yeah.
And maybe they got a bit itchy, they sat off to an extent when Hull started throwing the ball around a bit more or playing a bit more expansively. And that all got into this perfect storm that ended up with a close scoreboard. But Hull FC cost themselves this game with their own errors in the first half that led directly to Castleford tries. I think Castleford maybe reined themselves in a little bit to try and avoid mistakes, because we know they've been putting up mistakes late in games, but it's because they've been romping home late in games.
Yeah.
But maybe they realised there's an element of let's not risk those mistakes, and that encouraged Hull FC on. They played some great stuff, but the fair result for me was a Castleford win.
Yeah, I agree. Do the stats bear that out though?
Well, the stats are close, like the scoreboard. Hull did edge the metres, but only by 27 metres, and that was off 23 more carries. They did make 2 more clean breaks though than the team, and score an extra try than the team they were visiting. The biggest gap between the two sides was the 12-16 error count won by Cass, so 12 for Cass, 16 for Hull, and the 0.9 metres per carry better average gain for the Tigers too. Gadwin Springer was a big part in that average game. When he came on, he had a great burst. Not a long burst, but a great burst.
Yeah. That's it. You know, I've liked Edwin. He's another unsung cast hero for me this season. He has a big impact at times.
I think he's geared for that impact kind of role as well, not burning him out either when he is playing or by playing him too often.
Yeah.
He's not played too much or too often, but when he's played, he's doing the right things all the time, not doing the switching off in defence that he was culpable of probably when he first arrived at the Tigers and before that.
Yeah, I agree. So individually then, who stood out for us?
Zach Hardacre with a try-6 tackle bus 159 metres, Gadwin Springer with 127 metres, Mike McMeekin with a try-and-5 tackle bus, Nathan Massey with 102 metres. So not too many people putting up big individual performances, but there was lots of good ones around that, I think.
Mm-hmm. And for Hull FC?
Marhay Fanua got 2 tries, 3 clean breaks, Scott Taylor 161 metres, Albert Kelly a try-assist and 125 metres. That Albert Kelly try-assist was very good, weren't it? The swing-around pass. That ended up in the hands of Fanua. Josh Griffin a try assist in 108 metres and Jamie Shaw a try assist in 100 metres.
Okay, so on to Saturday evening then, and it finished Catalan 42, Lee 36 points aplenty, and Lee relinquishing a half-time lead in front of 8,728 people, refereed by Gareth Hewitt, and the result that means Lee are now confirmed in the qualifiers.
Does Gareth Hewitt's job entitle him, like, weekday job, because he's not a full-time ref, entitle him to, like, air miles or something?
It must do, because he's forever in Catalan. He's like Scott McLeod. It's like he's got the good Scott McLeodskis deal, isn't it? Like, you're always doing witness, mate. Oh, and Gareth, you won the RFL. I don't know, Tom Bowler at the end of last season, so you get to go to the south of France 9 times a year.
But it's probably the referee that referees at Super League level that lives the furthest away from a fucking airport.
Yeah, true. Maybe he's like Al, maybe he's expat now. Maybe he's an hairdresser and bus driver part time, and then does a bit of rugby league refereeing just to top up his bus driving and coiffing.
You'd think it'd make sense to send one of the ones that lives around an airport rather than the one that lives up in Whitehaven.
Maybe so. Maybe he flies.
Anyway, did you mention the result means Leah confirmed to the qualifiers?
I did mention that, Mark, yes.
So then you've also mentioned Alan Walker's name, and we'll start with him. He says, cat bounce. You cannot blame the refs, they're English, so clearly neutral. You cannot blame Stupimac. They're in a much better place than at any time in the season. You cannot blame the lack of fitness. You cannot blame it on the sunshine.
It was cloudy.
It was cloudy. You cannot even blame it on the birdie. By the way, Acton should be up before the bench, being a cunt if not then before the bolt gun. We won it at a canter, really sweating head. I think.
Now, squeaky bum time in Catalonia, but 76 points is value for money, if nothing else. Malcolm Matios says, "Kit Karma, you can't rock up wearing that and expect any favours. Look like they gipped up something nasty on the flight over."
Oh, I quite like the Starburst shirt.
Do you think so?
I mean, I wouldn't buy it or wear it, but...
So you quite like it, but you wouldn't buy it or wear it?
If I was a fan of the club... No, but if I had a kid, like... It'd be nice to buy your daughter a kit that she wouldn't think was too rugby-ish sort of situation. I don't know.
Possibly so. So we've discussed
maybe it looks a bit like the top of old sort of vaulted ceilings from sort of the, I don't know, Gothic Renaissance era or whatever.
Yeah, because that's what little girls are looking for, mate. Vaulted ceilings from the fucking Gothic Renaissance era.
Other people too.
Anyway. Actually, it's funny you should say that, because in fact before I set off tonight, Erin did say to me, "Dad, anything Gothic from the Renaissance era, any vaulted ceilings you come across, take a picture for us. I'm really into them at the minute." You fucking nailed it, mate. You should work in marketing for Lee. One person who doesn't want to be working in marketing for Lee, though, is Jamie Acton. We've talked ad nauseum about his performance.
We've covered that. What else happened?
Early on, let's just leave that where it lies.
I remember the end of the game.
Talk about the game, because quite a comeback and quite a capitulation, wasn't it?
I thought the better team won.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say that?
Of course you're allowed to say that. It's your podcast.
Lee were the better team for the first half,
right?
But I don't think they... Oh, it wasn't Drinkwater who got smacked up by Acton, was it? It was Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's having a cracking year.
He's doing well for me.
Yeah,
where's he going next year? He's looking at moving on, I'd have thought.
I don't know. If Lee are in Super League, I don't think he'll need to. If they're not, then I think someone should be having a word, because he's a very good player. He grabbed a try in this. His goal kicking is fantastic.
I can see him at Warrington, you know.
He's a very good player.
Good player.
That time sort of stepping back down after being the next great thing at Cass, but couldn't sort out his haircuts, so it held him back.
Do you remember when you hated players because of their haircuts?
Yeah, well, this proves my point, though, doesn't it?
He's got a sensible haircut.
It's not a great haircut, but it's better than it was. There's no top knot. There was the big fight, wasn't there? That was exciting.
Who was that?
It started by Crooks, weren't it, on Bird?
Oh, yeah.
When I think Crooks was trying to cheat a penalty, is that right? And then
and Bird weren't having it. Shocking.
No, and then it all kicked off. A few people ran in. A lot of players banned. Carolina got 3 players banned as a result of that scrap, and I think Crooks is banned from
Lee as well.
From Lee. Ass is Jamie Acton can't play.
While they appeal.
While the delayed decisions pending. So that's going to affect Catalan for next week from this. And Rich Mallor injured his shoulder. Looked to be a dislocation or something, didn't it? So maybe he got lucky with not getting a ban for tripping.
Yes, he did.
Given that he'd just been cautioned twice last month for the same offence. I don't see the point of the cautions.
You've got to get that out of your system.
Don't see the point of the cautions if someone's going to be then found guilty of the same offence they've just been had a written warning for and not actually get a ban for it. No. I'm sorry, I don't see the point.
It's time for a ban for that.
Sort yourselves out there, RFL, over that, I would say. But I mean, 28-12 at half time. I think it did reflect that, one, neither team wanted to defend too much, and two, Lee had the better of it. Yeah. But it never felt like the points difference was that 3-score advantage. It never felt like it was all the way away from Catalan. And
well, it's because you can't trust either side not to fall apart, can you? That's the thing.
I suppose there is a bit of that, yeah. Obviously, they started putting on some really powerful efforts close to the line. The Dupont and Yaha tries were those sorts of setups. There was a Horrow one as well. That was a close run thing. And then the Busquets try, of course, was the same sort of setup, just power over from short side. That was a really good and risky play right at the end of the game. I think on tackle 5 as well.
Right.
You know,
we might as well go for it.
But it was close to full time, wasn't it? It was in the last minute.
Yeah. So is this the Steve McNamara effect taking hold, do you think, or is this just they've come up against a pretty shit team? They've had a blip and then they've come back and beaten them?
I think they've come up against the worst, the equal worst team in the league for me. The where they are on merit, Lee Centurions, and they had their cup final and they got their holidays.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There was a lot of talk about Lee taking the preparation for this differently to what other people have done in terms of actually spending the time out there in Catalan and acclimatising and stuff. And I don't know if that was all just about going to Elwar Pellicier's pizza place, because they didn't. They started the game well, but they didn't stay with it, did they? So that acclimatisation didn't necessarily help them.
No, I don't think it did. I, for one, think that if you can go and acclimatise and get settled in, I think that's better than the flying in and flying out. But then, of course, stats will bear out that, you know, when teams like Leeds fly in and fly out, they often get a win. So, I don't know, I think if I was in charge, I would probably err on the side of let's go there a day or two before, settle the lads in, have a training session, and then have a captain's run, and then go do the game rather than rush it in. Particularly if you're trying to stabilise the team and kind of get something going there, which is what Lee needed to do.
Yeah, I think
probably would have been inclined to do what they did.
In the end,
they're just not they're just not the best team in the league.
They're just guilty of shooting themselves in the foot too often.
Of course they are, absolutely. And you know what goes around comes around. So yeah, I mean, fair play to Catalan. I think you're probably right. I think they probably were the better team over the piece. So good on them. Stats wise, what did that tell us?
First 20 minutes they were not good enough, but after that, I think they were the better team. Teams, Catalan had a plus 22 on the positive to negative differential over the Leeds figure on that stat. So actually that suggests, and that's supported by small wins in the errors, penalties and tackle success. So they were a little bit better in those sort of key manageables for yourself kind of areas that often do swing things. Lee were only stats winners in metres per carry, though lots of the numbers were very close. But I do think that not shooting themselves in the foot as much aspect is why Catalan for me were better.
Yeah, that's
individually.
The season though, isn't it?
Fujian, however, trying 102 metres. Jody Broughton were trying 106 metres. Luke Walsh had 3 try assists, and Tony Gigo had 2 try assists. They were the standouts for Catalan. A few, probably maybe more standouts in a way.